onto the fantasy lab rubric. All right, boys. All right, it's time. So, fantasy lab rubric. So we're gonna be looking at some of the new stuff in the Mythic Odysseys of Theros. Specifically, we're gonna be looking at player options, which I'm really excited about because we talk about player options probably the most of all homebrew stuff here on Fantasy Labs. And I think like player options are also the stuff that most people are interested in because whether you're a player or a dungeon master, you both care about it. This is our rubric. It's pretty straightforward. You get 5 points for potential points for content. We're gonna apply this to the actual content, not homebrew, but like real stuff in Mythic Odysseys of Theros. And the 5 points are space. You know, is there room for this in 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons? Does it already exist somewhere in some form? Balance, right? Is it balanced? Playability, does it disrupt the flow of gameplay, or is it frustrating for either a dungeon master or a player, for any player necessarily? Design, is it elegantly designed, and is it straightforward and easy to understand? And flavor, does it make you want to play it, right? Is it inspired? I'd hope to God everything published by Wizards gets the space point and the flavor point, and the design point, and the playability point. And I'd hope they get all of it, but we'll see how they do. Now, I'm not going to be too rigorous with the rubric today. I mean, I'll only bring it up a couple of times. For the most part, I want to talk about like what in Theros excites and interests me. So let's dive on. And of course, I've got some background music going. Let me know if it ever gets too loud for you guys. I haven't really used background music. Do it, Frosty says. All right, Frosty, let's jump right in. Character creation. So the very first thing in the book is this concept of heroic drive. Really awesome art in this book, by the way. No real surprise there. It's the artists of Magic the Gathering, and they're real good. But heroic drive. So this is really just about the concept of how heroic, like how your character is a hero in the setting Theros. This isn't really player character options, but it gives you some ideas, right? Of how to take the bonds, the ideas, the flaws that are in the player's handbook and amp them up. A really great example here in the text, right? From the urchin background. It's instead of I owe my survival to a fellow urchin who taught me how to live on the streets. It's I owe my survival to Phaenax, the god of thieves, who taught me to live on the streets while disguised as another mortal urchin. Right? It's a really simple way of taking those mundane backgrounds and making them very big. And that's really the key is big. It also talks a little bit about tragic flaws, which I don't really like this part of the book personally. You know, it talks about how flaws in the Theros setting aren't like the normal kind of character flaws. Everything is larger than life and kind of fancified. And one of the things that I really like about Dungeons and Dragons, at least in 5th edition, is the way they did flaws, how most of the flaws are very human. They're very human issues. So, yeah, I'm not super into this one, which again tries to like amp everything up to those like godlike levels. Like, yes, I hold grudges against people. No, I hold grudges against the god. Right? All right, sure, dude. I'm more interested in something that makes a more human character. So I'm not super into that part. And I'm gonna skip by most just until we get to the mechanical stuff. And actually, we're already there. Supernatural gifts. So this is a really interesting part of the book where the idea is all characters in the Theros setting, right, have a supernatural gift of some kind. Just like there's the piety system that affects people living in Theros, supernatural gifts also affect heroes in Theros. And maybe you were born with a supernatural gift, maybe you were granted it by a powerful entity in the world, like a sphinx or something. It's very Greek myth. Yeah, exactly, Cold Spark, precisely. And I think that tragic flaws section is for like if you want that kind of gameplay. But like, I don't know. I don't think I needed anyone to tell me how to come up with like, if only I weren't so vain that the gods hate me for it, right? Which is like one of the examples in here. It's like, all right, guy, okay. If I weren't so like I don't need someone to tell me that's how I can play a character. But anyway, the supernatural gifts, right? And the idea is, some of them are from God, some of them are from blah 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 blah. Maybe it's a crazy event of your birth. These are kind of interesting. They also have some variants in here of heroic feats, where maybe a feat would represent your supernatural gift. And there's some really cool examples here, right? Like, a snake emerged from my mouth before I took my first breath, an omen of my gift for deception, right? For the actor feat. These are some very cool, like, mythy kind of vibes, mythological feel, for like why you might have some of these supernatural gifts, right, in the form of feats. Some of them are really not that. Yeah, it's Flavor Town. Some of them really aren't that inspired. Like, the gods smile on me, but I dread the day they withdraw that favor and the luck runs out. Like, all right, that's not really super inspired. That's just that's the lucky feat, by the way. So it's like, some of them aren't that great, but most of them are pretty good. Yeah, so there's some pretty cool ones in there. There's some maybe uninspired ones, but it's a variant rule anyway, of course, as all feats are. But I guess the big key about supernatural gifts, right, is like, this might be something that even outside of the Theros setting could be used by a dungeon master, a player receiving a supernatural gift from either, a deity, perhaps by drinking a magical crazy potion, any sort of stuff. Feats you don't learn but are bestowed upon you is great. Yeah, I tend to agree. The feat system is, I don't know, flavor blasted gold. Did I say flavor blasted? I've been using the words flavor blasted to describe everything lately. My girlfriend hates it, despises that everything's flavor blasted. But like, I ate a magical fruit that blessed me with extraordinary resilience. It's just like kind of goofy, some of them. I like that one though. Like, having one that's just so plain and goofy like that works. Some of them, having like a bunch of those, maybe, yeah, I don't know. Looking at the supernatural gift, right? Anvil rot. So this is pretty straightforward. You're a construct. The idea is, in the context of the game, right? You were reborn and you were forged in the fires of Perforos, god of this forge, and his forge, right? You have metallic sheen, and you bear visible joints. And the mechanics are pretty straightforward. You get constructed resilience, which comes right off the Warforged, and you get Sentry's Rest, which both come right off the Warforged from Eberron. Basically, you're Robot Man. I like this just as a straightforward idea of like, hey, if you have literally anything in the game and you want to make it a construct, just change its creature to a construct and give it these two. You're done. I like that. I like that a lot. It's like a cool cheat sheet for dungeon masters. It also could be really cool if a player were to like come back from the dead in a game, and they were in some way a construct. This would be a cool way to like mechanically have that be reflected. That really doesn't bust the game in sorts of power, right? Resistance to poison damage is good. Immunity to disease is fine. Not having to breathe, and it's good. But I don't know. This doesn't break the game, in my opinion. Yeah, it's just some free convention. Exactly, Frosty. Exactly. You lose the ability to swim, though. It's just so heavy. You think? I love it, Sword. See, that's the kind of thing that I wouldn't have thought of, but I think would be a hilarious addition. Like, if you had a swim speed, you don't. Like, oh, well, shit. And then they give you some what are called Anvil Rot characteristics. And the idea here are these are like plot hooks almost. They really aren't characteristics. So the idea is like, Perforos made me to serve him, right? Cool. There's like a tie-in you have to this god. I was created decades ago, and fear I'm growing obsolete, so I fled Mount Zalus, which is Perforos, the god's forge in the setting, right? These are some really cool, like, plot hooks that tie into this character background, or I'm sorry, this, what do they call, supernatural gift. But they don't, I don't know. I wouldn't call them characteristics. They're cool, but I'm not sure they're super useful outside of Theros. Maybe good for like some ideas. Another one, heroic destiny. Great deeds lie in your future. It will take extraordinary effort to kill you. Really straightforward. You have advantage on death saving throws, and when you would be reduced to hit points, 0 hit points, you can reduce to 1 instead, and you can only use this once per one. Really straightforward, simple little thing of you are damn hard to kill. And in the setting, this makes a lot of sense. And even outside the setting, this is just a really cool, like, I don't know. I think this is just a really neat kind of vibe, right? Let's say your player is a cleric that worships Kalimvor, god of the afterlife and the transition of life and death and stuff in the Forgotten Realms, and does something really crazy to like please them. This would be a really cool thing to grant them. This would be good for a whole party. Yeah, I mean, it wouldn't be bad for that either. And honestly, I would say this absolutely would not be bad for a whole party. Being able to be reduced to 1 hit point instead of 0 means you can come in swinging on big encounters. Like, yes. So the dragon comes over and breath weapons all of you because it rolled high in the initiative and you all rolled low. Just, oh, God. All right, so we're all reduced to 1 hit point, and let's start the fight. And again, they try to have this heroic destiny. So there's some destinies here. And some of them are like, I'm destined to earn a place among the stars of Nyx, which is, with the gods. And then the next one is, I'm destined to become a god. I'm destined to uncover the secret of the god's powers. I mean, it's kind of repetitive, some of these. Some of them are really cool, right? I'm destined to destroy a kraken that ravaged a city when I was born, right? To liberate my beloved from the clutches of the underworld. Cool, like, grandiose concepts, but a tad bit repetitive. And it's like, I'm destined to be the most skilled practitioner of a craft or trade. It's like, all right, but that does not sound very grandiose. Maybe you're like the master thief or something, but I don't know. Again, more awesome art. And I love that they actually credit their artists, Howard Lyon, for these. Iconoclast. This is an interesting one because it directly interacts with the piety system we talked a little bit about last time. And basically, you just get some spells, and as you level up, you get better spells. That's all. It's really straightforward. Protect from evil and good, dispel magic, dispel evil and good, anti-magic field. It's just a cool, swap out for the stuff that's in the piety system. And those you just get at different levels. I don't think we have to really talk too much about those guys. Pretty straightforward. Almost a little too bland, almost. Not atheist, Frosty. In the context of this setting, Theros, it's like, not that you don't believe in the gods. The gods are real and exist. You just say, hey, gods, screw you. You don't deserve my worship because you're terrible. You're basically the Greek gods and you're super fallible. And the gods are like, yeah, no, you're right. We're super Actually, they probably don't agree to that. They say they're perfect. But yeah, I don't know. Yeah, it's not like you can deny their existence. Yeah, but you can totally spite them, which is exactly what that is. Yeah, I don't trust flumps. Exactly, the forgotten one. That is your iconoclast. But yeah, it's okay. And again, some characteristics, which really not the right word here. And they're all just the same, right? The gods are fickle and unworthy of worship. I try to avoid divine entanglements. I blame the gods for the death of people I care. Like, I'm convinced the gods want to kill me. I refuse to be a pawn of the divine schemes. They all say the same thing here, which is, gods are bad, okay? Little, I don't know. I would have liked to see maybe a little bit more creativity put into that table. Inscrutable, you have resistance to psychic damage, and you're immune to effects to let creatures read your thoughts. This is really cool. I like this a lot. The idea is you're either blessed or cursed by a god. I like the idea that like a god cursed you with this so that they didn't have to look anymore. They didn't have, it's like, I do not wish to hear your foolish thoughts, and they cursed you with this inscrutable background. I actually really like this one a lot. It's very cool. And the characteristics are really cool too, right? You were educated by a sphinx. You are a devout adherent to one of the Miletus' schools of philosophy. Miletus being one of the cities in the setting, right? I love this one. I only speak in the past tense as if all things I say have already transpired. Right? I love that. I was born a sphinx, but a god cursed me into a humanoid form and saddled me within the limits of mortal knowledge. I won't rest until I break the curse. These are actually really cool. I like them a lot. Very neat. And so far, from a balance perspective, we've been pretty... Yeah, Sphinx would be a terrible teacher. Yeah, I think a lot of the... Yeah, why wouldn't I phrase every question as a statement? I think these are pretty fun. But so far, right, all of these features, Inscrutable and Iconoclast, it replaces the whole piety system. But Heroic Destiny, these have been pretty minor buffs that, like, don't really change things. And that kind of changes once we start moving past to, like, Lifelong Companion. All right, folks, we're back. I don't know what happened. Discord just totally crapped out on me for a minute. Hopefully you can all hear me again. I've literally no clue what just went wrong. But thank you all for the heads up that the sound disappeared. I would not have known. So Lifelong Companion, this isn't where the story changes, right? You start getting real powerful features here. But they're cool still, right? They're still pretty fitting. And the idea, I guess, one of the things I really liked about this, and this is what I was mentioning was muted, is any relationship with another player's character requires that player's consent. You know, you think about it like that shouldn't have to be said, that should be obvious, but I'm glad that they did that. Yeah, I don't know, some people might want to do this though, right? Because it's not just a sidekick. Like one of the features this gets, Companion's Protection. When a creature you can see within 5 feet of you is hit by an attack roll, you can use your reaction to cause the attack to hit you instead. Awesome. So cool. Like, this is a kind of feature that so many players want to have on their, like, big protector fighter. Like, I want to be able to protect my allies. I want to take a hit for them. And so, I don't know. I like this a lot. I think this is pretty cool. In terms of, like, being, you know, useful in other games. And all the relationships are all very obvious. It's like, oh, another character is my lover or a dearest friend. Another character is my sibling, blah, 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 you know, whatever. I've admired another character from afar, and I finally want a position by their side. Senpai noticed me. But anyway, pretty cool. So a lot of these are pretty neat. They start to get a little more broken when we get to this Nyxborn one, which again is really Theros gods specific. Cloak of Stars is an action. You can wrap yourself in a starry cloak and create your attack rolls of disadvantage against you for that minute. Like, that's just super powerful. And resistance to necrotic and radiant damage too. This is just bonkers powerful. So I don't know why this one's randomly so much better than the others all are. But whatever. And it's got some cool origins, right? Like, one of my parents was a nymph or some other supernatural creature. I don't know. There's some cool stuff in here. And again, Nyxborn is, like, from the realm of the gods, right? So it ties into the lore of the game. But yeah, and it gives you some cool quirk ideas too, which I really like. Right, one of the ones my favorite here is my anger smells like burning autumn leaves. I love that. That's such a cool concept for like an Eladrin to steal, maybe. You know, my laughter causes nearby birds to erupt in song. There's some really awesome quirks in here. I'm just confused as to why this effect is just so much more powerful for no real reason. And then there's Oracle, which has some cool stuff about gods and piety scores and stuff like that. I'm going to just skip past that stuff for now. It's all pretty straightforward. It's the kind of stuff you'd expect an Oracle to get, right? Gods can speak through you and you can speak Celestial. You know, gods give you flashes of insight. You can add a d10 to a skill check once per whatever. And then you get, instead of the regular piety system, you get some spells at different levels. Augury, divination, commune. Yeah, classic kind of stuff. I saw we had a big thing in chat for, let me check real quick. Over PBJ2 says, so I and a group of people of 9, that's a lot, just finished our campaign preventing a necromancer from obtaining godhood. Congrats. We fought their kingdom he raised, oh god. To get to the throne room, we lost 2 of us in the run. Oh geez. We interrupted the ritual and started the final fight. Near the end, 2 wizards cast Meteor Swarm together. 7 of us died along with the boss. Even with the saving throws and second one, I barely lived, and 1 wizard lived through the chaos. I killed her for killing our allies and took the necromancer's skull. Oh my goodness, PBJ, too. I love the drama, right, of that conclusion. I hope everyone there was, you know, on board and because it sucks to be killed by another player character, especially if there wasn't a consent there. But if everyone's on the same page and in for that really dramatic, like, conclusion and explosive conclusion, that sounds like a really awesome way to, like, for that campaign to go out. A huge just blast. I love hearing that kind of stuff. That sounds brutal as heck. The 2 of you went down just trying to get across. So now you're the next bad guy? Yeah, right? If your Dungeon Master, or if you wanted to run another campaign in that same setting, I mean, that character seems like I must kill all wizards so that my friends are not destroyed by this terrible magic again, right? That sounds like a very cool way to conclude that kind of stuff. Or really just to set a how it'll be like in the future. It's very neat. But yeah, moving along a little bit. So we talked a little bit about some of the. I wanted to skip over pious. It's really straightforward. You get more piety with the piety system we talked about before. Unscarred just gives you, I think it's the Goliath feature. You can roll a d12 once when you take a damage and reduce the damage. All of these are really well balanced and like actually pretty good between each other, except for Nyxborn, which is just way out in left field. But all of them are really cool, and some of them would be really, really useful for like a dungeon master to want to use outside of Theros. So pretty neat. That feels like a PC turning into a bad evil guy at Cold Spark. Yeah, I agree. He sounds like the next bad. I say they sound like the next. Apologies. But yeah, there are also some cool races in Theros. There are 2 that are new, and they're the Leonin and the Satyr. And let me scroll down to them. They have a ton of background in here, right? Like for like the Centaur, about centaurs in Theros and all that stuff. I'm not going to go over that right now, but it's cool. If you want to play this Theros setting, there's so much just inspiration here for you to draw from. So much just stuff. And it's pretty well written too. Actually, I really do love this book. As someone who had literally no interest in Theros before I opened this book up, this makes me want to play in Theros, which I don't know, that's a big deal to me. I think it's very cool. But yeah, let me scroll down to Leonin, which again, these dope lion people, very, very cool looking. I love them. So the Leonin, their main thing in this setting is that they don't worship the gods, right? They are the iconoclasts in Theros. I'm not going to worry too much about that kind of stuff, though, the lore, just because it's so campaign specific. I want to just talk right about stats, right? What makes the Leonin a juicy option? Also, important to note, in this book, they expressly mention that none of the races in the player's handbook, except for the human, exist in Theros, unless they're visiting from another plane. So, like, this is very much meant to be a self-contained campaign setting, which is interesting to consider. So Leonin, they get a +2 to their constitution and a +1 to strength. All right, these guys are like the optimal barbarians right off the bat. Walking speed of 35 feet, so they're just a little faster. I guess it makes sense because they're lions, but that used to be like just a specifically wood elf thing. So, okay, whatever. Dark vision, I guess that makes sense, but typically dark vision are creatures that like live below ground in 5th edition D&D. So it's a little funky. We're getting a above ground race that has it. They have a natural weapon, which are claws, which is fine. And they get hunter's instincts. They get a proficiency in 1 skill of their choice, which are all kind of typical, athletics, intimidation, perception, and survival. And they get daunting roar. Cat people, of course, have dark vision. Yeah, well, cats don't have dark vision in 5th edition D&D, Crowley. That's the interesting thing about them. And I don't think lions do either. No, they don't. So, that's just a choice they decided. Tabaxi have dark vision? Okay, so sure. But yeah, and of course they have daunting roar. As a bonus action, you can let out a menacing roar. Creatures of your choice within 10 feet of you that can hear you must succeed on a wisdom save or become frightened until the end of your next turn. Really, really good feature. It goes off your constitution for the DC. You can use it once per rest. This is just a very strong, you scare people with your dope roar. I mean, it's everything you want on a lion, man. You got cool claws, you roar loud. That's what I want to do, right? So I think it's pretty good, and it's very strong barbarian. Super barb! Yeah, Frosty. I agree. Also, hello, Half Demon Dan. Welcome. Excellent Pride Unicorn emote. I love it. It's very glamorous. Let's see. There was another comment I saw in here. I don't remember what it was, so I'm just going to keep... Oh, I see. Cold Spark was saying, the Magic the Gathering plane I hope gets a full source book treatment is Zendikar. I actually disagree. I don't want to see that, Cold Spark. And the reason I don't want to see that, this is funky, but I'm going to explain myself here. I feel like Zendikar is... Because Pete and I talked about this at length. Zendikar is so focused on the Eldrazi, right? It's so focused on these couple of really big, important bads that, like, no matter what you're going to do, if you're going to play in a Zendikar game, it's going to involve the Eldrazi, right? It has to. And I think that's... And I don't think this setting has that problem because it has a ton of gods that can all be tie into big bad stuff, or just the concept of godhood, like being an achievable thing in the setting and something that in the lore of it, like, happens to one of the gods. Like, I feel like it leaves so much more open for the Dungeon Master to create their own plots that make sense. Whereas, like, I feel like I'd have a hard time coming up with any plot other than the Eldrazi are devouring the plane in Zendikar. Now, maybe Zendikar has changed since I last saw it, which was, I think, the first release of Zendikar. So I don't know if there's been a return to Zendikar or something, that maybe it's changed a little bit. But I feel like it's almost, as cool as it is, almost too narrow for, like, a source book. Maybe I'm wrong. I'd love to see them prove me wrong. Like, I didn't think this was going to be good, but it's real good. So let me keep moving, though. So that was the first real deal here. And, of course, feel free to combat me and argue with me in the chat, Cold Spark. I'd love to hear your thoughts on why you think Zendikar would be really cool. There's so many... Like, visually, Zendikar is very cool, though. I said combat me. I meant, discuss with me. I don't mean to be so combatant about everything. The Eldrazi are either dead or trapped in Innistrad's moon. Okay, so a lot has fucking changed. Never mind. All right, never mind. I got no idea then. Maybe Zendikar would be real cool. Mirrodin would be cool. Yeah, it would be cool if they didn't destroy it with the whatchamahoozers, the Phyrexians. They ruined it. But anyway, let's move on to these next boys. The satyr. This is the other race option that comes in this book. And the satyr's interesting. Pete made a satyr, and we've looked at this satyr already, but I'm going to briefly cover them now anyway. So their ability scores, they get a +2 charisma and a +1 dexterity. Very good for any sort of charisma-based caster, warlock, sorcerer, bard, you name it. Even paladin, these are really good. Let's see what else they got. They got 35-foot speed. That's kind of funky to me still. I mean, I understood the lions a little bit. This one's a little weird to me, but whatever. They have a natural weapon with their horns. Okay, I'm not sure they necessarily needed it, but it's fine. They have magic resistance, which is very good. They have mirthful leaps, which is a really cool feature where they can potentially jump up to 1d8 feet longer whenever they make a jump, which is cool. They have proficiency in performance, persuasion, and one musical instrument of their choice. Very satyr, makes a lot of sense. And of course, they are fae rather than humans, just like the centaur. And I see Frosty was saying, not fae and human. Damn, where's Pete's? Yeah, Frosty. I also prefer Pete's satyr. That being said, I mean, this is very good. Like, this is an incredibly good race. But I don't know, whatever. It's not the end of the world with this kind of power. You know, these are mechanically good. You're going to have great stats if you're a charisma-based caster or a paladin. And you're going to have really good features like resistance against all spells and immunity to very, very niche specific conditions by being a fey creature. But I don't know. I don't think there's too much here that's really that big of an issue. It's definitely the best, and a useless ram attack. Yeah, really. Man, I wish they would just. I don't know. I get it, but I don't know. It's weird that the ram is just as good as the Leonan's claws. Like, that's what I don't get here. The lion's claws are just as good as these dimpy little. By the way, awesome art. These dimpy little horns. But, yeah. I mean, it's okay. It's definitely really powerful. It's the best option for those kinds of classes. But, whatever. It's just not needed on a Dex Cha race. He would never use them. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, strength modifier damage. Okay, bud. Yeah, that's a fair point. Tritons also are new in this edition. And the only really change on these guys, they're new, sorry, they're reprints from another book. The only change on these guys is they got dark vision finally, which they probably should have had the whole time. So, otherwise, no real change in the Tritons. And they went back and revised the Tritons in the old books to have dark vision. So, doesn't matter if you already have a printed version, but anyway. This is, I think, what we really want to talk about here. What we usually focus on in Fantasy Labs, and this is the only feature that I'm going to whip out the rubric for. Because this Bard College of Eloquence, I've been pretty good. I've been pretty positive about this. Even the stuff I didn't like, I've been pretty positive about, like the Nyxborn Supernatural trick. I've been pretty cool about it. The Satyr, which was obviously too powerful, I've been pretty cool about. I'm not cool with this one. No, we're not cool anymore. Theros, you and I, take you out back and go beat you up. Bard College of Eloquence. This was a subclass of the Bard. The Unearthed Arcana version was incredibly poorly received. It was terrible in almost every way. You know, it had huge gameplay issues in terms of, like, disrupting gameplay. It didn't, like, conceptually being the speaker Bard, right, which is so iconic. Like, if you're going to be a Bard, this has to exist somewhere. The master of oratory, right? It had to exist. And in the Unearthed Arcana, it was terrible, and they totally gutted it and changed it out here. And, God. All right, let's talk about it. So, at 3rd level, they get 2 features. Silver Tongue. You're a master at saying the right thing at the right time. When you make a charisma, persuasion, or charisma deception check, you treat a d20 roll of 9 or lower as a 10. It's just all the time. This is very similar to a rogue feature that they get at level 11 called Reliable Talent, which is an incredibly powerful feature. Rogues basically do not fail skill challenges at that point. And as a bard, at this third level, when you get this feature, you're going to have, at least a +3 from your ability score from Charisma. Probably a +4, but at least a +3. Or potentially a +3. So +3, definitely, though. You're going to have a +2 from your proficiency bonus. You're going to have expertise, so additional +2. So you're going to have +7 to your roll, meaning your minimum roll is 17 to persuade or deceive. I hate that. I despise this with every fiber of my being. The whole point of rolls in 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons is the potential for failure. People already try to overuse these skills. I completely agree, Frosty. The whole point of rolls and of Dungeons & Dragons is that there is the potential for failure. And at 11th level on the rogue, I'm almost okay with it, because it's such a high level. You're already at the, in most game settings, you're already at the, all right, we're at the kingdom level. I mean, in 4th edition, they call it Paragon, right? Where you are heroes of the kingdom at this point. And at 3rd level here, you're like, I'm a hero of the town, but I can lie my way into literally anything. I fucking hate it. I think this is such a cancerous feature for them to put in the game. I can't even begin to imagine. This rubric, rubric. College of Eloquence. Well, there's space for it. I think it has to exist for a bard. There has to be eloquence. Flavor. Do you want to play it? Oh, it's super cool. The idea of being the speaker bard, I think that's very inspiring for a lot of people. This alone kills the playability point, in my opinion. Terrible. Just destroys it. Because so frustrating, I think, for the Dungeon Master. And I think just players absolutely abusing the shit out of that is going to really disrupt the flow of play as well. Well, it's official. Gonna make one for D&D time. Funny, Frosty, this is never gonna show up in D&D time. Sorry. But they also had a second feature at 3rd level, which is Unsettling Words. And it's as a bonus action, you can expend one of your bardic inspirations and choose a creature you can see within 60 feet. You roll the bardic inspiration die. The creature must subtract the number of rolls from its next saving throw it makes before the start of your next turn. That is also busted as hell. So good. Maybe it's, I think there are times where this won't really break the game, but that's just a really potent feature. Saving throws in 5th edition D&D are a lot of them for higher level spells are save or die, right? Hold Monster is a 5th level spell that if a monster loses a hold monster, they die. The game's over. And that's a huge issue. And at lower levels, hold person against humanoid enemies is the same deal, right? If a creature gets held by hold person, they're dead. The combat's over. So right there at 3rd level, the College of Eloquence destroys and disrupts social aspects of the game, and is definitely a huge danger, I think, in combat. In just really negating a lot of aspects of combat with that feature. So just already right off the bat, playability, I would say this absolutely does not get a point on it. Balance, I mean, dude, a minus D6 to D12 on saving throws. This thing already lost 2 points right off the bat. Yeah, Frog saying basically what happened to Burgle kind of. Yeah, I think everyone's been in that circumstance where they come up to a dramatic battle, the creature fails its saving throw, it doesn't have a legendary resistance, and the game ends. The battle's over. And that big dramatic battle is just a huge flop and doesn't have the drama that it really should have. And I don't know, I think that sucks, frankly. I don't think that's fun at all. Especially as a Dungeon Master, but even as a player, I just feel like I'm cheated out of the dramatic experience, as a dramatic battle. Every big battle needs legendary resistance. Yeah, really. Yeah, but like even at low levels, like you're getting this at 3rd level. That's outrageous. Let's move on to this next feature, which I think docks another point off the Bard. Actually, I will talk about universal speech first, because this is actually a good feature. You've gained the ability to make your speech intelligible to any creature. As an action, choose one or more creatures within 60 feet of you, up to a number equal to your charisma modifier. The chosen creatures can magically understand you regardless of the language you speak for 1 hour. Super cool, very, very fitting for eloquent, right, for that kind of bard. And then unfailing inspiration. 6th level feature. Your inspiring words are so pervasive that others feel driven to succeed. When a creature adds one of your bardic inspiration dice to its ability check, attack roll, or saving throw, and the roll fails, the creature can keep the bardic inspiration die. A really cool concept here, except that this implies, it doesn't even imply, it requires something that doesn't exist in 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons, which is objective success and failure, and the player always knowing if they succeed and fail. What is a successful or a failed stealth check? If any number of creatures see them, let's say you have 4 enemies, right, and they all have different passive perceptions. One of them sees you. Did your stealth check fail? Let's say you're rolling an insight check against a big bad, and you roll an 18, and you think, oh, that succeeded. And the Dungeon Master tells you, oh, they appear to be forthright. Little do you know that Rakshasa, disguised as the merchant, rolled a 24 on their deception check. Those are ability checks that don't objectively succeed or fail. Both of those. And those are very prevalent, almost, I'd say, more prevalent in a lot of cases. Especially in social aspects of this game. This feature is completely incompatible, just from its design perspective, with either of those concepts of partial success or the lack of knowledge of success or failure that, that the player can have. So, yeah, this feature, frankly, is just a steaming sack of crap. From a design perspective, from a playability perspective, it's terrible. There's a cool concept of it, and I think when you're talking about attack rolls or saving throws, maybe, but even saving throws, like let's say you roll saving throw against a disease, and the disease doesn't do anything for 24 hours. How do you know if you succeed or fail? Or like a slod tadpole, right, is a monster. So like ability checks, it precisely encompass skills, Frosty Pirate. That is exactly what ability checks are. They're for your skills. So yeah, I mean, I get where this is going for. Trying to be cool, trying to like be interesting, but they really just didn't, I don't know, yeah, I just didn't think it through, frankly. So I don't know what I would do with this if I were running this in a game. Like, I guess I'd have to just talk to the player about it as a dungeon master. I'd have to be like, hey player, you've got this feature that doesn't allow for, either a lack of knowledge of success or failure or partial success or failure, both which are very prevalent in games that I run. So, yeah, sorry. I think that, like, the concept is, I get it, but it just, yeah, right, like, you feel stealthy. Exactly, right? Like, anyone who runs Dungeons & Dragons games would have realized the problem with this feature. Like, if it was their job to sit around and really give it a good read and review. Which means, to me, they didn't really take the time to give this a good read and review, frankly. I don't know. This is a huge problem. But moving along. I'm getting too kooky here. Too heated. I'm gonna put the kind goggles back on. Infectious Inspiration. This one's pretty cool. I actually have created something very similar to some of my homebrew. And the idea is when one of your players, when a creature uses a Bardic Inspiration die that you gave them, you can use your reaction to give that die to another player. So the idea is your inspiration can kind of multiply itself. I can use this a number of times equal to your charisma modifier. So, I mean, this is fine. It's just a cool idea where one inspiration turns into a new inspiration, kind of bubbles out. It's really cool. I like it a lot. But yeah, overall, this class, entire subclass, gets a 2 out of 5, which they get space and they get flavor. And even with flavor, I guess all of these like are within the flavor of College of Eloquence, so I can give them that point. But they get the kind of points that, yeah, like that's kind of novice, you know, like most first passes in Fantasy Labs get 2 points. So it's like, Wizards, what are you doing? The other class option, of course, just in case anyone didn't get it, I will literally never allow this class in one of my games. I just despise this. But Oath of Glory. This is an interesting Paladin subclass, which is not quite as, yeah, those are gimme points. Exactly, Cold Spark. You know, the space and flavor. Dude, if you don't get those points, what the hell are you doing, right? Like, if I made a Paladin Oath of pooping my own pants, all right, that's the only way. Okay, I'd still get the space point because it doesn't exist in 5e. But that's the only way I lose the flavor point. Right? Like, that's the only way you don't get that point. So, it's pretty sad that that's the quality we're seeing out of this published, official, in-text paperback, you know, not in hardcover text content. I'm pretty sad. I'm actually extremely disappointed because I was super into the idea of the College of Eloquence. And, man, they took the bad, you know, they got really rough feedback on the College of Eloquence when they did Honest Arcana because it was bad, and they just took it in the worst possible direction here, I think. With, again, a couple of really good points. Neural Speech and Infected Inspiration, really cool. The rest of it, really not. Anyway, sorry, Cold Spark, we really want to hear about the College of Glory. Yeah! Frosty part, okay, I'll remake it for you. Frosty, do it. Do it, my dude. I'd love to see someone make a good College of Eloquence. Do I need to rework a concept for D&D time? Oh, I see! You were thinking of making an Oath of Glory. Morning, Farku, welcome. Oh, I guess it's after, it's evening for me, but morning for you. Oath of Glory, this one's, I think I'll actually take some time to talk about. So the idea of the Oath of Glory, right, is this is the paladin that strives for, like, destiny calls me, I'm destined for heroism, kind of deal. And their tenets are actions over words, strive to be known by glorious deeds, not by words. Challenges are but tests. Face hardships with courage and encourage your allies to face them with you. Hone the body. Like raw stone, your body must be worked so its potential can be realized. And disciple of the soul, you must marshal the discipline to overcome failings within yourself that threaten to dim the glory of you and your friends. Lots of hubris. Yeah, right. I like this a lot. I like this quite a bit. Weren't these in the UA? Yeah, they were, Farku. College of Eloquence got wildly changed and is a dumpster fire now. Oath of Glory, I think, is mostly good. I do have one quibble with it, but that's not a big problem. And I'll get to it when we get there. But Oath spells. So you get a bunch of spells with Paladin. They're spells that you're considered to have prepared. And they're awesome. Guiding Bolt, really cool. You throw a Bolt of Light, first, it's just a cool spell. Heroism, very cool spell. Enhance ability, pretty cool spell. Magic weapon, I guess it works, right? Even you can fight ghosts now, I guess, with that. Didn't have a magic weapon already. Haste makes a lot of sense. Protecting from energy, it doesn't really, but I don't care that much. Compulsion is such a weird fucking spell. I don't know why they gave them to the Paladin. It just forces creatures to run in a specific direction you choose. So I guess, like, you make the townspeople charge the dragon with you. I don't know what the idea there is, but sure. Freedom of movement, like, makes sense. I can escape any bond. Yeah, I mean, it's cool. I mean, these are fine spells. There's nothing really crazy about them. A few that are a little funky to me. There needs to be a thing about friendship. Maybe. Channel Divinity. So they get 2 Channel Divinity options. And it's weird because one of these is way better than the other, but the one that's better isn't the one that I like the most. So they get Peerless Athlete, which is a bonus action, and you gain advantage on athletics, athletics, and acrobatics checks. Also, you can push, drag, lift twice as much weight as normal, and the distance of your long jumps increases by 10 feet. Long and high jumps, so you can just jump 10 vertical feet now. This is a really awesome feature. I think this is a really powerful feature. It's a bonus action, which is great for Channel Divinity. Paladins are often really taxed on their action economy, so I think this bonus action is really good. And then, if you're one of those players that's going to abuse the absolute hell out of the grapple system, this is just great for you, I guess. You have advantage on your grapples, because you have advantage on strength checks. So, this one is the one that I feel like is probably the better of the two, especially if you want to abuse that grapple mechanics. Grapple mechanics. And those can be really cool, too. Actually, just yesterday, I was playing in the Dungeons & Dragons, I was playing the game, and we were in a Coliseum-like arena. And one of the players, the Paladin, couldn't get, like, there was a dragon, and they were up on a rock, and our fighter was up there battling the dragon, and the Paladin was like, well, I can't, like, get to the dragon to fight them, really. I could hit them with my whip, but I don't want to do that. And so their strat, they jumped up and they grabbed the dragon by the tail and ripped them down from the rock. And it was a really, really dramatic use of the grapple mechanic of just, oh no, I'm pulling them down from the rock. And then they released the grapple and drew their weapons and attacked them with their second attack. It was really cool. And I feel like that's the kind of thing that this Peerless Athlete is meant for, right? You feel Smite is better being more general. Yeah, I mean, again, if you're going to abuse grapple mechanics, Peerless Athlete's incredible. But the other one is Inspiring Smite. I love this feature. I think it's really, really cool. And the idea is immediately after you deal damage with your Divine Smite, you can use your Channel Divinity as a bonus action to give temporary hit points to creatures of your choice within 30 feet of you, which can include you. And the temp hit points equal 2d8 plus your level in the class, and you divide it among the creatures however you like. I really like that. I think this is a really fun feature. The idea that, like, your hit physically just powers your allies. I like this quite a bit. I think it's a very, very cool feature. I love how it ties in with Divine Smite. It just feels dramatic, right? So I like this a lot. The one thing I would actually maybe say is if this actually feels like it should be your reaction instead of a bonus action, because bonus action just in the narrative of it feels a little weird, but whatever. I really love these Channel Divinities. I guess is my takeaway here. Just Peerless Athlete could be abused with grappling. Aura of Alacrity. This is the problem. This is the problem child here, guys. Aura of Alacrity. You emanate an aura that fills you and your companions with supernatural speed, allowing you to race across a battlefield in formation. Your walking speed increases by 10 feet. In addition, if you aren't incapacitated, the walking speed of any ally who starts their turn within 5 feet of you increases by 10 feet until the end of that turn. This is a huge problem. Because the whole point of here, Aura of Allegro, Frosty says. The whole point of this, right, is that your allies are faster when they're around you. But I thought about this and I said, well, that's awesome. I'm fine with that. It's not really super powerful, but it's cool. And then I thought about it more and I thought, when am I ever going to benefit from this? Only if I have a lower initiative than my allies, right? If I, as a paladin, have a higher initiative than my allies, then I'm going to go first. And I'm going to look at my allies standing next to me and I'm going to say, see ya, allies. I'm going to run toward the enemy and attack them. And then when my allies start their turn, they're not going to be adjacent to me. So it's kind of weird about mechanically, like, depending on the order of initiative. And of course, if they go first, then they run forward and they'll get the speed. So depending on the order of initiative, this is either like totally not applicable or very applicable. It's really weird. I think this would be a lot smarter if a creature, if you hold your action, or, right, it could say if a creature starts or ends their turn, right? Or it's when you start your turn, creatures within 5 feet of you gain a thing. Like, it's weird. It's trying to be an aura that increases speed for things that move outside of your aura, but because of the segmented nature of initiative, it doesn't work well. If the thing is, if you hold your action exactly as Farku was saying, you go in front of me, peasants. That's my glory. Allies, charge while I stand here. Like, yeah, just like, and then hide the big paladin tank in the back. Yeah, really. So this is just, it's a cool feature, but I could see this under the playability being ultra frustrating for the players. Huge problem, I think, in terms of how they implemented it. I don't know. Is this Theros or Unearthed Arcana? This is Theros. This is official published content. Yeah, this is from Moot, Mythic Odysseys of Theros. I love that acronym. But yeah, I'm just a little disappointed. It's also really weird that, why is this aura of a 5-foot aura? Like, all the other paladins, their 7th level auras are 10-foot auras. Just like the paladin's aura of protection is a 10-foot aura. Why is this one randomly 5 feet? That breaks our design convention. Like, there are obvious conventions for paladin auras in 5th edition D&D. Why is this one smaller for seemingly no reason at all? Right? Like, I don't think this is a game-breaking issue. It's just, like, annoying. Oh. He literally grabs his ally. Pulls them down the field with him. Ah, yes, using his compulsion spell. Genius, Frost. Yeah. Yeah. I think the way they would want to do the Aura of Alacrity, right, is like a creature that... God, I don't know. I got nothing here. There's better ways they could have executed this, I think, while still keeping the idea of increasing your friend's speed. Let's talk about Glorious Defense. You can turn defense into a sudden strike. This is a really interesting feature. Yeah, you could range attack first round. Precisely, Goldspark, precisely. I know a lot of paladins don't like doing range attacks because they can't smite on them. And it'd feel real bad when you crit on that range attack and you can't use your smite. But, you know, it works if you want to be a dex paladin and have that first, or even a strength paladin, right? And you just use a javelin, a thrown weapon. It works either way, frankly. Pardon me. Anyway, so Glorious Defense. This is a really awesome feature. This is like what you want. This is what you want out of, I think, this hero paladin, right? This, and it's you can turn a defense into a sudden strike. When you or another creature you can see within 10 feet of you is hit by an attack roll, you can use your reaction to grant the bonus to target's AC against the attack, potentially causing it to miss. The bonus is equal to your charisma modifier, minimum of +1. If the attack misses, you can make one weapon attack against the attacker as part of the reaction, provided the attacker is within your weapon's range. Oh! Well, I'll answer your question in a second, Farfel. You can use the feature a number of times equal to your charisma modifier, minimum of once, then you regain all expended uses when you finish a long rest. I think this is super cool. It is powerful, don't get me wrong. But at 15th level, whatever. Go them the cool, powerful move. I think it works fine. It's also, it's when you're hit by an attack roll specifically. So you don't always get to use. This is something that you can actually do in the new Pathfinder. Huh. Interesting. I don't know like anything about the new Pathfinder, Farku. Yeah, overall, very cool, glorious defense feature. I really love it. Now, Farfel, you were asking, what do we have in my background here? These guys are adorable. They are the figurines of adorable power. This one's the Gazer. This one is, of course, the Flump. The Flump's arm wiggles around, too, which is kind of funky. I didn't expect it. It's just a little funky. But I love the Gazer a lot. I love these guys. I got these from my pal Matty Morgs over at twitch.tv/Matty Morgs. He's pretty cool. I very much like them. They make me happy. They're very cute little friends. They were better organized, but then Data jumped up there, and Data likes to slack them because I don't know, he feels threatened by them, or he wants to kill them, one or the other. And then at 20th level, which is kind of like this avatar form that the paladins all get, you can empower yourself with the legends, whether true or exaggerated, of your great deeds. Oh my god. As a bonus action, you gain the following benefits for 1 minute. You're blessed with otherworldly presence, getting advantage on charisma checks. I love it. Once on each of your turns, when you make a weapon attack and miss, you can cause that attack to hit instead. That's really good. That's insanely good. And if you fail a saving throw, you can use your reaction to re-roll it. You must use this new roll. That is also really good. This is just insanely good. The one huge problem I have with this isn't any of that. It's this last part. Normally, with these features, you can use them once per long rest. This one has that stupid thing where, unless you use a 5th level spell slot to use it again, oh, I hate that so much. I despise that. The Paladin's 5th level spell slots, for the most part, are spells like Circle of Power that are really, really cool spells that help their allies. And I understand the convention and like the idea here of being like, I'm gonna not help my allies and instead make myself sick again. I get it. Even from the glory perspective, I get it. But it's a collaborative game. D&D isn't like a single player thing. So I'm just not super into it, frankly. That specifically that last line. Everything else here, 20th level, go for it. Go wild. These are powerful, but whatever. It's just funky when you compare like the Rangers 20th level capstone to this, and then you're like, man, there's been some power creep in this game. Cold Spark was saying 5 shareable shield spells per day seems decent. You know, that's what I thought at first with Glorious Defense, Cold Spark, but it's not every attack. It's just to one attack. So it's not that powerful. Obviously, you get a free attack out of Glorious Defense. That's really good. And I'm not saying it's not really good. This is an incredibly strong feature. I'm just saying it's maybe not as potent as it maybe immediately looks. Farku was saying, I think you should get it again if you expend a 5th level spell slot. Ranger Cap is something weird to compare. No, you're absolutely right, Farku. You're absolutely right. It is weird to compare. I think it's just weird that they're adding this kind of stuff in there now, but like all of the old features, none of the existing features in any of the books have this kind of thing. So it's weird that like these new ones are just, oh, but they're also a little bit better. I don't know. I'm not sure. I really like, and maybe this is a problem with me, but I really like the idea of having a variety of cool and useful spells. And this is so blatantly powerful. Like, this is better than any spell by a landslide, better than any 5th level spell. So if I'm ever in a situation where I might have more than 1 minute of combat, more than one continuous minute of combat in a game, I will literally never use a 5th level spell again once I have this feature, because this is so much more powerful than all the 5th level spells. At least that's kind of my thought. I guess it's not that much more powerful. I don't know. Auto hits and auto reroll saving throws. I don't know, man. It's pretty fucking good. Farful was saying that I don't know if this is actually better than any 5th level spell. Paladin 5th level spells are busted. Yeah, Circle of Power is really good, but like, I don't know. Auto hits, man. Auto hits are so good. And you can reroll saves every time you make a save. Oh, I guess the reaction. It's not every time, but I don't know. Like, Circle of Power is what? Just re-rolling saves against what, spells, or is it all things? Spells and other magical effects. Okay. And you ignore half damage on successes. So definitely has some play over this, but I don't know, man. I think this is by far the selfish option. And I don't know. I don't like rewarding selfish play and empowering selfish play. You already get this one dope feature. And again, because it's not something that exists in all of the other stuff that's already been published to date, it's just kind of weird to tack it on now, right? To start doing it out of nowhere. I don't know. Just my feel. I get it, not game breaking. I'm not saying it's a huge deal. I just don't like it. That's just my only thought on that. Overall, Oath of Glory, pretty good. Like, it's very strong. It's very cool. It's very flavorful. The spells are really cool. The features the channel divinities are both great. The Aura of Alacrity is just a little weird to use sometimes. I guess they're just assuming you're, dump stat, dexterity, obesity paladin. I don't know. But, yeah. Yeah, like how much are you even playing at that point? That might be a fair thing to consider, Frosty. And that's usually why I don't really even try to assess 20th level stuff from a balance perspective. This could say on a critical hit, you automatically kill the bad guy and whatever. It's a 20th level feature. The game has broken down 3 levels ago, right? The game has stopped really working 3 levels ago. So I guess there's an argument, right, that this, compared to maybe some of the other Paladin 20th level features, is actually a lot worse. I don't know. Or maybe it's the idea that they want to encourage you to use these charisma checks part more. For some reason, you'll use your Living Legend feature to get your charisma check bonus outside of combat, and then maybe want to use it again in combat for the other features, maybe? Like, I could see that. That could be maybe why they wanted to add that feature in there. I don't know. I guess I don't mind it that much if I'm thinking about it in that context. Either way, it's pretty cool. Yeah, get the crowd on your side and then go into combat. I think that could definitely make sense, especially like a siege situation or something like that. That could make sense quite a bit. Yeah, or in combat in the Arena of the Gods. Yeah, that would be a very fitting use in the Theros setting. But yeah, I mean, the Paladin Oath of Glory, pretty solid. Just a little wacky with how the Aura of Alacrity works in a lot of ways. Oh, Farka, you just give it back to them when they cast any 5th level spell. That's very good. But why not, right? And I guess last but certainly not least, we have this one background that comes in Theros, definitely intended to be used with Theros, but I could see this being used almost anywhere. And that is the athlete feat. And the idea is you are a professional athlete, right? You are known for your exploits, and you are just really good, really good at athletic stuff. And so you get proficiencies in acrobatics and athletics, always good to have. You get a language of your choice. That one's a little weird to me. You get vehicles land. I guess the idea is you're a chariot racer, maybe. I'm sorry, did I say feat? I meant background. This is a background. Apologies. Thank you, Farfel, for the correction. You get some fun stuff under equipment, like whatever, a discus, leather ball, some trophy, whatever. And then they tell you to pick a favorite event, and they have a bunch of cool Greek events here, marathon, wrestling, unarmed mixed combat, chariot race, just cool stuff. In case you didn't already know of cool athletic stuff you could do. Yeah, boxing's on the list. I mean, big shrug emoji. I think it works, right? Like, and in any setting, yeah, golf too. Yeah, there's no golf on this list, unfortunately, Frosty. But in your campaign, you could easily say that your character is a world-renowned golfer. The ancient Greeks were, of course, avid boxers. Yeah, thank you, Farfel. That's absolutely true. Cold Sparks is asking, Oath of Glory, likely for the land of D&D time or not? I've got no idea, Cold Spark. How Pete and I, like, how we evaluate stuff for 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons, specifically for our kind of, for Pete and Jeremy's D&D time is like, it's basically, we try and think to ourselves, right, does adding this really help at all? Especially if it's like, I think, especially if it's something that like is, that we're not super familiar with. Like, neither of us are super familiar with a lot of the stuff in Guildmaster's Guide to Ravnica. And that's why we're really apprehensive about allowing it in D&D time. Because if a player doesn't like know it, it's I don't know. It's on us to try and figure it out, and that's always very frustrating if we don't know it. That being said, we know these, and I don't like one of them very much. Yeah. Anyway, I don't mean to. No chess. Yeah, maybe in your home game, the favorite event is chess, Gorgrin. I think that could be perfectly reasonable. But anyway, your feature, which is kind of the core thing here, is you have attracted the admiration among spectators, fellow athletes, and trainers in the region that hosted your past athletic victories. When visiting any settlement within 100 miles of where you grew up, there's a 50% chance you can find someone who admires you and is willing to provide temporary shelter. I really like the condition they put on here of, like, distance, because I think a lot of backgrounds should probably have that, but I think this is really cool. You just find someone who's like, oh my god, are you Farku, the legendary boxer? Yeah, that's me. You know, it's chess boxing is a thing. Holy shit, I don't even know how chess boxing would go, Farku. I'm interested in knowing, maybe. Anyway, I think it's really cool. Oh, and it also specifies between adventures you can compete in athletic events to maintain a comfortable lifestyle as per the practicing a profession downtime in the player's handbook. So, just like basic downtime activity, you can earn some money doing your stuff. So, pretty cool. Interesting. So, marathon and long distance running are different due to the total length run. Interesting. But yeah, and they gave you some personality traits here for the athlete, and ideals and flaws, and bonds and everything. And I don't know. I think these are really cool. I mean, these are the kind of things you want to consider, right? When you're writing a character, right? I have lingering pains from old injuries. I indulge in a habit that threatens my reputation or my health. These are like real person issues here, and I really like that that's in here, especially when a lot of the bigger than life stuff they were talking about earlier in the book was so godly, right? Really not down to earth and real like that. But anyway, I like it. I think it's a very cool background. I think it is totally versatile, and I peaked in high school as a quarterback of my football team. Oh god. Yeah, that's a bond. Anyway, I think that's a bond and a fly, actually. But yeah, I guess overall, back to the top, talking about our character creation stuff and all the stuff that we talked about today in chapter 1 of this book. Heroic Drive, there's some stuff to think about there, but whatever. Supernatural Gift, actually really cool. I love the way they contextualized the supernatural gifts, and for the most part, they're all pretty well balanced and pretty neat. I like them a lot. I could see these being used in a lot of places outside of Theros, or really cool in Theros, if you wanted to play in the setting. The Leonin is a really, really cool race. It does everything you want to do for a barbarian. It's just real good. Satyr is too good. It does everything you want to do. Everything. Like everything. the if you are a charisma-based class that benefits at all from dexterity, which all of the charisma casters in Paladin. College of Eloquence, it has 3 really good features and 3 horrific features. So I will literally never allow that in a game I run. Just won't do it. And Oath of Glory, I mean, it's fine. You know, it's got some really, really cool features, especially at the higher levels. And even if Channel Divinity is like really neat, I do really like it. Got really great spells. It's just that aura at 7th level and 18th level, I think, when it increases. That is just a little weird. It just breaks convention randomly and has some playability issues. So, Oath of Glory, you get 3 out of 5. College of Eloquence, you get 2. Ouch. So overall, it's funny, the races and classes are really not that great in this book. I mean, the races are good. Satyrs busted, but whatever. The classes are pretty mediocre, just overall. I mean, Oath of Glory is mostly good, but has really frustrating problems. Like, as a DM, I would have to homebrew a replacement for that 7th level, for that aura. I wouldn't want to run that aura the way it is, because it's just disappointing. Like, not fun. But otherwise, it's awesome. So it's like, it's hard for me to say anything bad about the Oath of Glory, because it's like, it's great, except for this one thing that sucks. And the supernatural gifts are overwhelmingly pretty solid. Yeah, so... chat. It's a brutal Oath of Glory high school football captain. Yeah, I'm sorry, Frosty Part. You keep saying, Frosty says, you keep telling me how you didn't think you'd like this book, but actually love it, then proceed to tell me how much it sucks. Yeah, I mean, it's weird, right? There's so many awesome ideas in this book, and for the most part, it's well done. Like, the Leonin's great, no issues there. Satyr is great, but just a little too strong. Like, there's nothing wrong with it. Flavor-wise and design-wise, it's awesome. It's just a little too good, I think. Eloquence, that one I don't like. But Oath of Glory is awesome. It inspires me to want to play the Oath of Glory, both in its mechanics and in its, like, flavor. Great. It's just that one aura is a bit of a dud feature. Supernatural gifts are all great. There's one exception out of like 9 or 10 options, and that's Nyxborn, which is still great, but just a little strong. That's I guess the recurring theme is some stuff is just a little strong. And we ran into that last week when we talked about the piety system, right? There's some really awesome, really cool stuff in there that is super inspiring. And even the stuff that's a little strong, like, makes sense and works. Like, the Satyr's a little strong, but it 100% works. Like, for the flavor of it, it works. Like, I give the Satyr a pass because we have that exception in here. If a homebrew is truly exceptional in any one category and falls short in another, such as slightly exceeding limits of balance for the sake of flavor or playability, the shortcomings can be accepted. And I think that's the case with the Satyr, right? The Satyr is such a flavorful, cool race in the way it's designed and how its features work, that even though it's a little overpowered, I'm okay with it. There's no heartbreak from me over it. I like Pete's Satyr more, but I also really love Mirthful Leaps. I would want to use that so much if I were playing a Satyr. It's such a fun sounding feature to me. And it's not for everyone, but for me, it certainly is. So I guess, Frosty, yeah, I mean, I feel like as a content reviewer, it's my job to, like, be honest with you about what I think is busted and what I think isn't busted. You know, what I think is a problem versus what isn't a problem. And so that's why, yeah, I'm super critical of stuff that I'm critical about, because that's just my feel. Like, honestly, College of Eloquence, I think is just, man, I don't even. It just is. I think it would be a huge problem. And honestly, the stuff that's even the most busted about it, like unsettling words, I don't even think this is actually that busted. Like I was picking it out before the using your bardic inspiration to decrease their saving throw. Yeah, but what if they roll bad? What if they roll poorly? You know? Then it doesn't do anything. The feature just didn't do anything anyway. Right? So I think like unsettling words really isn't even that big a deal, especially when your other features all rely on you using your inspiration for stuff besides unsettling words. But yeah, like I don't know. Oh, that's true. Farfel. Yeah, Farfel was like, I just like jumping. I do like jumping. Jumping is like my favorite. All of my characters jump a lot. Cold Spark says, what if you roll poorly? Yeah, and again, you might roll like a 1 on your, let's say you have a let's say at 3rd level, D6 inspiration die, and you roll a 1, and they're like, all right, I rolled a 24 on my save. All right, now it's 23, and it doesn't do anything, and you've just wasted an inspiration, right, on literally nothing. So, like, there are problems with this feature. Like, this honestly isn't that busted, unsettling words. I don't like it, but it's not that broken. Or even that much of a problem, though it could be. It's not necessarily. The problem with Silver Tongue is just fucking, bleh, bleh. And that's all I got on that. Unfailing inspiration, bleh, bleh, absolute successor failures, no. Just, bleh. Anyway. I'm going to take a picture. I'm just stand on these cool guys, these cool Triton boys. But yeah, I guess I think words is more like a trap feature. Yeah, it certainly can be cold. It can be really sad. Like, I could see some players really getting frustrated that their feature just never works. Right? That could, like, it could really suck. And that's also a huge problem. So yeah, I think the unsettling words really just doesn't have a place in the game, frankly. Combined and with everything else in that's kind of my feeling. Eloquence Bard just becomes a new big bad evil guy, persuades the party to leave unerringly. Yeah, really. Convinces a dungeon master to leave too. It's crazy. Anyway, that's my feel on the character options here in the Mythic Odyssey of Theros. Overall, it's pretty cool. I'll be real. I really love this book. I actually really like the campaign setting Theros. I would play in this campaign setting. I might even run in this campaign setting at some point, which is something I never really considered I'd say. It's neat. I really like it. They really took the time to flush out the Pantheon really well. There's a ton of flavor stuff that I didn't read. I actually didn't read out verbatim here because you would have gone mad with me just reading off a page. But there's really great flavor in here. If you're making a character in this setting and you are interested in any of the supernatural gifts that I talked about, there's a ton of background in there that like can help you to inspire you to come up with your character and tie in those supernatural gifts. And that's something that is, I think, really important. They really took the time to give all of these races a lot of detail as to like how they exist in this world and, you know, their quirks and their cultural norms and all of that kind of stuff. They took the time to do it. So if you're interested in playing in this game, in this setting, there's a lot of really great stuff in here. And even if you're not interested in playing in the setting, okay, like I'm gonna say, if you're interested in playing with the setting, it's an incredible book. It's a must buy. If you're not interested in playing in the setting, just from the character creation and the piety stuff in the Gods of Theros, if you're a dungeon master, this is a pretty useful pickup, I think. If you're a player, I guess if you're interested in the Oath of Glory, you know, it's pretty good. Like, it's a pretty solid oath for paladins. It seems like it'd be a lot of fun to play, and it lacked some of the meathead problems that some of the, I know the College of, I think they call it the Oath of Heroism in the Unearthed Arcana, had some very selfish play issues that have been adapted and revised to be a little bit more open-ended here. Cold Sparker saying, I'd love to get my Vorthos fix in Jeremy's Theros. I have to wrote some of those iconic Theros instants and sorceries as D&D spells. Thoughtseas seems like a fun challenge. Yeah, I don't know what any of those things are. I don't really know what any of these books are, or any of these spells that exist in Magic the Gathering. I'm a little disappointed that they didn't actually try to translate some of those in this book. That's, I guess, the one thing this doesn't have is, you know, it doesn't have any spells, which I figure with the Magic the Gathering, because they didn't do it for Ravnica either. For a game that's a card game so focused around its spells, it doesn't have any. Like, where are the new spells? I don't know. Maybe it doesn't make any sense to. Again, it's been a long time since I played Magic, but I don't know. Anywho, I'm going to leave that from there. So I guess that is just about all I had in mind for today. Though I would like to talk a little bit about this boy just before we wrap up for the evening. I say this boy, this terrifying, not demon, but lives in the abyss, demigod of cold and dying of cold, the Icewind Dale, Rime of the Frostmaiden. I'm very excited about this. This is a new book coming out in September. It's an adventure, levels 1 through 12. If you haven't heard about this, it was recently unveiled in Wizards of the Coast's D&D Live 2020 stream. Maximum hype, Frosty Pirate says. Yeah, he's pretty cool. I think this is going to be very, very neat. The book, I can tell you the context of this. The book is intended to be a sort of horror style game. It's meant to be, it's designed in the form of the new Dungeons & Dragons Essentials adventure. I don't know if anyone is familiar with that. It is the Dragon of Icespire Peak, where there is an overarching plot, but the adventure is more of a sandbox, and there are lots of little plot hooks that all of the plot hooks eventually tie back in to the main plot for the latter half of the adventure. So it feels very open. It lets the players explore and really choose what they want to do in the game, and then stumble upon and find the main adventure as they go. So I think that's a really cool design. I'm really interested to see. I haven't played the Dragon of Icespire Peak, so I'm very interested to see how that actually plays out in this adventure. So that's at least how the adventure is going to be designed. And then from an actual flavor standpoint, it's cold, it's dark, it's supposed to be scary. The oppressiveness and bitterness of winter is really supposed to show through in here. There's supposed to be some really quite terrifying aspects of this adventure that really play on some things like claustrophobia or just the idea of becoming lost in the icy cold, freezing to death, right? Like there's aspects of this adventure that are going to play on some of the most primal fears that people have, in what I hope will be a very engaging and exciting way. Additionally, there's a very interesting mechanic that's going in this adventure, which gives it its tagline, "Some secrets are worth dying for," which in it, all of the player characters, at least in one of the options here, start with a special secret that is known only to them. And whether or not they share the secret or don't, I guess can play into how the game kind of turns out. It's very, very interesting. I don't know this for certain, but I suspect that those secrets are going to tie in a way that is not dissimilar to the Taroka readings from the Curse of Strahd adventure, where They might tie very specifically into places, people, potential allies, potential enemies, and the like in the adventure, um, which is really cool. I think, I suspect that it also could very, very easily tie into like potentially running into other threats. Like if you maybe know the location of some terrifying artifact, right? Um, and that's something that you like need to get for whatever you want to do in the adventure. Um, the maybe like other people might show up there, right, if your secret gets out, and so when you kind of are trying to get to it, maybe you're now racing another party of explorers and adventurers to find it. It could be very cool. I know the setting is in Icewind Dale, which, if you guys aren't familiar, I know I wasn't super familiar because I didn't play the old games, but Icewind Dale is basically 10 very small towns. I think the biggest of which is like 1,000 people. The smallest of which is in the sub 100 people, that are up in this icy glacier that is Icewind Dale. But yeah, it's supposed to be very, very spooky, very, very, very cold. Playing on a lot of those fears. I'm very excited about it, and I'm very excited about how so the main protagonist in this adventure, I say protagonist, one of the main aspects of this adventure is going to be this big owl demon thing you see here in this picture, or right here on the alternate art cover, which looks pretty good. And that, I believe, is an incarnation. I'll go down to the alternate art cover. I wish they had a bigger version of it. This is the biggest version they got. But yeah, this terrifying snow thing is supposed to be an incarnation of Auril, goddess of, or lesser goddess, right, of winter and of cold and of all of the bad aspects of cold and winter. And one of the things that's very exciting in this book is she is the Frost Maiden, by the way. It's one of her many titles in the Forgotten Realms. Is there's going to be multiple stat blocks for Auril. Auril is not going to just have one stat block. These incarnations of this lesser deific figure, right? There's going to be multiple different versions of the way the goddess may appear to the characters throughout the adventure. I probably as an enemy, I'm going to presume. But yeah, I think it could be very, very neat. And I'm very stoked. I'm really interested in how they opt to flush out the 10 towns. I know that they've gone through to the point of like, based on the adventures they've run for the D&D Live 2020, they actually went through to the point of like flushing out a few key locations in the towns, like taverns and the personalities the tavern keeps, for example, and their like families and the relationships between some of the other denizens of these 10 towns. So I'm interested to see how deeply they go into that, right? Whether every town is detailed or if it's just a few key locations in each. I'm also super, super into the idea, the core kind of context of Icewind Dale. This is a place that people go to escape their life of, their past lives, right? Whatever they had done in life. This isn't a place that people go to live in just to like, I just live here, right? This is like, yeah, I murdered someone and I regret it immensely, so I've basically banished myself to this cold place, right? People they aren't super friendly, I guess, in a way. But more than that, right, there's a regret, right? Like all of the people, all the characters in this adventure should have that kind of darker secret to them. And that's kind of where the tie-in comes in, right? Some secrets are worth dying for. These are the adventures, these are the secrets that if you find out their secret, like they might try and kill you because no one can know what they've done right before they ended up in Icewind Dale. And I think that that's kind of the idea with each player having their own secrets, that some of the players might have those kind of tie-ins of what horrible thing have you done that is why you are now in Frostwind Icewind Dale, rather. Very cool. I'm super excited about it. Just for a few like locations that exist here. Right, obviously it's called Frostwind Dale, and there are the 10 towns. Like I know one of the big ones is Brimshander. I think I said that correctly. Brimshander, I think. Yeah. And that is the biggest one, right? That 1,000+ person town. But there are also like terrifying places like the Caves of Hunger, and there are quite a few like, God, I can't remember what it's called now off the top of my head. I can't. Care something. One of the glaciers is Care something. I'm thinking Care Morin from The Witcher. It's not Care Morin. But yeah, there are some really cool stuff in this. So I'm really excited for the locations, for the whole game. Frostwind. I say Frostwind Dale, Icewind Dale. My goodness, it's because I'm losing it. I'm looking excited for more information on this stuff. If you want to learn more, one of the things that you can do is you can go over to the Dungeons & Dragons Twitch or YouTube channels, and you can watch some of their old VODs for the adventure. One that I would highly recommend is the adventure run by Deborah Ann Wold. She's a great dungeon master, and even beyond being a great dungeon master, she ran a really good game, right? She ran a really good game for a really good cast. So highly recommend that. It was a very fun adventure to watch and get an idea for. Chris Perkins, another great dungeon master. He ran a couple of adventures that weekend. I haven't caught them all, but you can check those out too. There's a lot of famous people they invited for this, which I'm not like super into. I'd rather they have invited people like, Matt Mercer or oh my goodness, Mark Hulmes, some of these people, even Matt Colville, as much as like, I'm not super into Matt Colville, but like, as much as I wish they had like invited those people who are big names in D&D, in terms of streaming community, like that helped to make the game as popular as it is. But whatever. It's overall very cool. Check it out if you want. You want a link? Let me see if I can get you a link real quick. Yeah, here we go. Ba-ba-ba-ba! Yeah, third-party D&D celebs. I agree. I think it would have been cool if they had invited those guys to come and play along. Just because, like, especially because it was an online-only event. Like, yeah, it's weird because everyone was playing via webcam and stuff. It wasn't like a live, in-person thing for obvious reasons. So it's kind of strange to me that it's like, I mean, you got no real issues with it. Why not do it? But anyway, there's a cool game in there with the Game of Thrones cast. If you love Game of Thrones and some other cool stuff, check it out if you wanna, or don't, and we'll talk it about at some other point, and then we'll tell you everything you need to know when it comes out. All right, I'm just rambling at this point, guys. I'm just. This is the part where Jeremy's just excited about something new coming out, especially something like this. I'm very into. So, yeah. Thanks, everybody, for hanging out. Listen, the 15th of September is the release. So that's going to be dope. And, of course, if you do want this sick alternate art cover, you can only get that at your friendly local game store. So damn well go support your friendly local game stores. They are going to be having a tough time, especially come fall. Yeah, it's been a rough 6 months, basically, for local game stores. So do what you can to help them out. And contribute to them because they're important to gaming and your local communities. That's all I got. I'm just blabbling at this. Whoopsies. All right, guys. Did not realize that I didn't have the stream on studio mode. All right, guys. I would say I'm going to take off for the evening. Thanks, everyone, for hanging out. And a lot of cool stuff to talk about today. I really enjoyed talking about Theros, and I liked you guys sharing your thoughts, too. It was a lot of fun. I will catch you all next Friday for Pete and Jeremy's D&D time, 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern. We're not doing Legend Tier next Friday. I know we didn't do a Legend Tier this week, this last Friday, because of shenanigans, power going out, and all sorts of stuff. But we're doing 2 normal weeks like normal. So we will see you all Friday at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern for D&D time. Bye-bye!